Welcome to the Default Profitable Podcast, the show that's a toolbox to build a business that is consistently profitable. Whether you're a founder, a leader, or just a curious builder starting to dream, this podcast has a lot of information to make a business profitable, regardless of the industry. I'm your host, Matt Nettleton. Today, my guest is Matt Hammond. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so obviously we know each other through our kids, but why don't you take 2 or 3 minutes before we jump into the business side and introduce yourself to the people who are listening?
Sure. So like Matt said, my name is Matt Hammond. Moved around a bunch in my life from California to Indiana to Maryland, back to Indiana. Actually a stint in Plano, Texas there for 2 years in between. And then Texas for undergrad, IU Bloomington for law school. I have a blended family with 2 boys and 2 girls, from a first grader to a senior in high school who will be off to college next year, which is how I know Matt. Indianapolis is home, always considered it home. Love all the other places that I've lived dearly and love my friends there, but I'm an Indianapolis man through and through, and live downtown and love the community and love all the people I've met through kind of growing up here, but also through business.
Excellent. So why don't we start with, what's the name of your business and what do you do?
My business's name is Hambone's Trivia.
Yeah.
And to be very overly general about it, we run trivia games. Now, we do a lot more than that, and we run a lot of different trivias. So in general, sort of the obvious trivias that we run are the bars, restaurants, and breweries. And that is certainly a part of our business, and we're proud of that. And that is kind of like a great laboratory for us. And so that is a portion of our business. Another portion of our business is corporate games. So that's team building. That is sales meetings. That's retreats, everything that you can think of as far as corporate trivia goes. Then we have fundraisers. Then we have themed trivias, and we get very niche in the theme games. Then we have kind of other games that aren't really trivia, like music bingo, speed dating, stuff like that we do. And then we have a growing portion of our business, which is kind of new employee onboarding, continuing education, things like that. We gamify all of that stuff for some big companies.
All right. Yeah. So when you were introducing yourself, you went all around the country, but basically school in Texas and then law school at IU.
That's right.
So how does law school and IU end up with a trivia business?
Yeah. So, well, that's a very fair question that I got asked. I get asked plenty now. I got asked a lot more when I stopped being an attorney to start running a trivia company, especially from like parents and friends. So I was a corporate lawyer in Indianapolis at a big firm. Worked at Ice Miller, doing like casino acquisition. I was transferred in their public affairs group, so I was running campaigns and doing some lobbying work. And then kind of full time into the campaign world. And all the time, starting about 2007, not about 2007, in 2007, I had the new iPhone, the very first iPhone there ever was, which obviously was a game changer for everything. But even like the little things about that iPhone were kind of unheard of at the time. And one of those things was the weather app. And so I had that iPhone, and I lived in the athletic club downtown Indianapolis, and I would walk across the park to the elbow room, and I would plug in 10 cities into that iPhone weather app with Moscow, London, Los Angeles, Maui, and everyone at the bar would throw in $5. I would name the 10 cities. They had to name what the temperature was right now in those cities. They trade papers with their partner, and whoever was fewest cumulative degrees off get everybody's $5. And we would do it, and people would love it. And there was more people than you think played that game. And then one day I was like, I think I could do more than the weather game. I could actually write some trivia questions. And so I started doing it. And then, for the first like 4 or 5 weeks, there was 2 teams playing of strangers. One was friends and one was strangers. And then it started to grow. And in about 2 months, there was about 150 people playing every week. And it never, and I mean this completely, it never occurred to me to monetize it. I was doing it for free beer. I was doing it for the
That's
fun.
monetizing.
Yeah, that's correct. I was getting paid. I was getting paid in Coors Lights and
Oh, I thought you said beer.
Yeah. I was getting paid in water, and buffalo chicken wraps. And then other bars would come in and say, or sometimes call and just say, hey, I heard you do this. And I would say, I definitely don't do this. This is like I have a real job. And then I started doing like one fundraiser a year, just for free. And it just kind of grew, and it was what I loved. And then as I became more disenchanted with what I was doing professionally and slightly more known for what I was doing on the side, I started, in the back of my head, I would talk to some of my buddies and I'd be like, we could start this. And maybe if we get lucky, we could have like 5 games a week, and and we could live, on ramen and Diet Coke, and we'd be fine. And that's kind of how it all began.
And so then when did you actually quit being an attorney?
I quit being an attorney in 2012.
All right. So 5 years
That's right.
of living on free.
Well, right. No, So I was, I was an attorney from 06 I graduated law school in 06. 2012 is when I was done lobbying, running campaigns, all of that. And I went outside after a bad day at work, and I said, I'm going to start a trivia company and we're going to figure it out. That's when it really began. And that is, in the years to follow, there were many, many, many times where I wondered if I had made a terrible mistake. But
So let's talk about that, because this is, we're 160 episodes into this, and there's 3 things that everybody says business owners need to have when they start their business. Right? Obviously, you need to have 6 months of savings.
Yep.
You need to have a clear strategic plan that is well designed and effective.
Right.
And you need to have an understanding of what your clients will pay for.
Sure.
So of those 3, how were you situated?
I was, maybe, if I'm being very generous, I was 1 for 3, and that would have been a probably 3-month savings I had.
All right.
Combined with, I think I thought I knew maybe what some bars would pay for this. Now, the corporate side had never entered my mind at all. But I definitely didn't have a strategic vision at all. And what I had, which I think is a luxury that, at least it's my impression, that not a lot of people have, is because I had been doing it for a number of years as a hobby, and as this is fun, and I'm hanging out with my friends, and I'm basically just, which is still how I look at it. What I do is, because I create all the content. I write almost all the questions that we write, unless they're really, I don't write the Harry Potter questions, and I don't write the Lord of the Rings or Star Wars questions. but I'm writing the geography and the US history and the sports and the general trivia questions that we're asking, and I'm good at it. And I had been basically what I do is I just find fascinating stories, and I'm good at saying, what's the trivia question in this story? Right. And so I did have this luxury of having a lot of people come through that elbow room game. I mean, it was really one of maybe two trivias in the city at the time. The other one being the Golden Ace. And mine was for the younger crowd, and the Ace was not. And so I met a lot of people that are like, man, he asks really interesting trivia questions. And so the plan wasn't something on the top of my mind because I was like, I can do this. And I've been doing it for a while. And all I just need to do is have a few meetings with a few bars, and they'll want me, which took a long time.
So, so if you think back to 2012,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you had to learn that you were surprised you had to learn?
Well, that's a great question. So if I could kind of whisper into my own ear, knowing what I know now back in 2012,
Yes.
I would say, to trust my instinct about what makes a fun event. I would say find um find not a partner, and I've never had a partner, right? But I would say find someone who you trust that can help you run the day to day, and find them as fast as possible and pay them exactly what they're worth, and don't be afraid to trust that person. And one thing that I've been very fortunate with the success of this thing. And so it's hard to kind of quarterback it, Monday morning quarterback it after the fact and say, here's what I wish I would have changed. I don't think I've been protective of enough of my own time. And I've really made a point to do that recently, and it's still not doesn't come naturally to me, right? Because a lot of clients, literally the moment before I was on this call, I was talking to a new client, and I kind of try to price myself out of it, where I'm like, you can have me for this event, but here's what it's going to cost, or you can have another great host. We have a lot of hosts. We have, I think now we basically have like 75 really regular hosts, and they'll still say, no, we'll pay the extra. We want you. And so my time is very, very valuable to me, and I would do a better job protecting it early.
That's an interesting observation.
Yeah,
Most people don't they don't jump all the way out there, but that's really good. So 2012 you start, you're blowing and going, just trying to figure it out.
sure.
At what point did it really become a business in your mind?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say 2016 is when it really became like I knew I had it. And I was like, it was getting to the point where I was allowing myself to think, hey, I don't know if I can do this by myself anymore. Right. Which is what I had done for 4 years easily. It wasn't
Right.
tough for 4 years, right? Because there was nothing going on. But then I was like, man, 2016, 2017, I was doing like, and this sounds so crazy compared to what we're doing now, but a really busy month, we would have 4 or 5 bars a week, and we would have one, maybe 1.5 fundraisers and corporate events a month. And it was like, okay. And then, basically back then, and it's still true, but it started right around that time that we're talking about right now, where it's like, I know if I do a United Way event, or if I do a Big Brothers and Big Sisters event, or an Immaculate Heart of Mary event, I am going to have 6 people ask me for my card before I leave that room, and I'll be able to get 3 of those into events, and then I'll be asked for my card at those events, and now we're going, and that's sadly, and this is an indictment of my own ability to run a company. That remains the marketing strategy. We don't pay for marketing. We never once, ever, without a single exception, have asked anyone ever, can we host the trivia for you? It's 100% people calling us, meeting us, saying, we want this. Tell us how it works.
So when you started it, you were doing it for Buffalo Wraps and Coors Light,
That's right.
right? You
Yes.
upgraded at some point.
Yes.
You switched to money
That's right.
because
That's
you
right.
like groceries.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
And then 4 years later, it really became a business where you're starting to scale, add some additional hosts. Now you're at 75 additional hosts.
That's right.
When you started it, you were passionate about it,
Right.
right? So, there's a continuum where some people start a business because they really like it and they'll figure out the money. And some people see an opportunity to make money and they'll figure out how to like the business if it's profitable.
Right.
It sounds like you were closer to the, I really like this, I'll figure out the money.
100%. That's right. I really like it. I love it. I'm just talking about fascinating things that I find fascinating, right? And I've always been a storyteller, and that's kind of what I'm just trying to tell a story through these trivia questions, right? And my secret sauce, and I say this on 10 phone calls a day from people all around the country that don't know me, but they've been told to call me because someone on their board played my trivia, or their husband or their wife played my trivia at a fundraiser in California and now they won it. And they'll say, the person sometimes that I'm talking to is confused about a lot of people do trivia. And I say, our secret sauce is that I write the questions myself and I write them to require reason, not recall. Right. So that allows me that premise allows me to tell a story through a question. And I love telling stories. I love good stories. I love listening to them. I love talking about them. And I love people kind of figuring stuff out like that.
So when did you realize that was your secret sauce? When did you were you able to put that into a sentence?
No one's ever asked me that before. And I'll tell you exactly when it was. I'm at the elbow room back in that initial game. And I had been doing it for, I don't know how long, let's just say 2 years at the time. And in walks Indianapolis Monthly magazine one time with like plaques and all this stuff. And we're awarding Matt, it wasn't even Hambones. There was no name to it. All right. We're awarding Elbow Room best trivia in the city for this year, Indianapolis Monthly. I didn't know it was a category. I didn't know anyone had ever considered us. There wasn't a lot of trivias back then. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, how did I beat all these people?
Yeah.
And they handed me one of the plaques had what would be written in the magazine. And it said, with questions that require reason, not recall. And I said, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I do. So I didn't come up with it. Indianapolis Monthly came up with it, and I use it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love that. So a question I like to ask is, I'm sure you have friends that come to you and they're like, well, I got this job. I'm a cog in the machine at a big corporation. I want to start my own thing. How do you handle that conversation? What do you tell them?
I kind of normally start with, and it does happen a lot, that if you're dreading waking up, if you can't stand the thought of waking up and driving or walking or biking to your office, and every day seems like it's worse than the last, then you can't be a good dad, and you can't be a good husband, and you can't feel good about yourself. So that I do think I understand But you also have this separate responsibility of you got to pay the bills, and you got to, if healthcare is tied to it, and rent and groceries, there's got to be a plan, right? And I'm not good at looking at a plan or hearing a business idea. I don't know if I'm not good. I'm not an expert at it. And saying, yes, this will work, or no, this won't. Right. But I've leaned on and relied on and continue to so many friends from Cathedral, from law school, who have done this at such enormous scales that are dear friends of mine, that I'll be able to connect. And it is one of my biggest strengths in life is connecting people that didn't. I love when my law school friends meet my high school friends, and then they go out and golf and grab drinks without me, and I'm like, I know how to pick them, right? And that's how. And so I'll get the people who have that conversation with me. I'll get them together with Pat McGinley or Kevin Ryan, and I'll say, these are people that really know what it takes, or my brother. I encourage everyone to do it. But I'm not confused that I didn't have a lot of luck and a lot of really dark, lonely, moneyless, thankless days. So
The skinnies.
yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. All right. So that's a quick 22 minutes, but let me wrap up with a final question. If 2025 Matt could sit down next to 2012 Matt
Mhm.
and say, hey, listen, this works out. It's all going to be good. But tomorrow, when you go in to start this business, here's what you need to do first. What would that do first thing be?
The do first thing would be, man, that what a great question. The do first thing would be, um, concentrate on corporate games over bars and restaurants. Your corporate games are obvious, maybe not obviously. That's where the profit comes, right? They're paying for it. Your bar games are not a loss leader because you're not losing anything. You're making money off of them, but you're making the contacts for those corporate games in a lot of instances. You're also using it as a laboratory to test for questions. The questions we're asking every Monday through Sunday at bars, restaurants, and breweries, I'm looking, and I've got a group of people playing that say, this is a question. This one, if we can get one a week where they say, this is one that you need to throw into your corporate games, then now we're going, right? And so if we can organize, find a way, which we finally have found this last 5 or 6 years, of really getting the corporate games are your greatest hits. They are the questions are so tight, and they're so interesting and so approachable, and they're either people figured out and they're pumping their fist, or they screwed up and their heads are in their hand. And if you can figure out a way to really concentrate on corporate, get in front of those companies that want to keep people on campus, and they want to keep their company culture up. They want to have, we're probably doing, I'm going to guess 80 games um 50 games a month for Lilly sometimes, and we're doing, 10 for Salesforce, and we're doing monthly games and quarterly games, and these companies want it, right? And the more you can sort of, and then you're like, hey, by the way, we can onboard your new employees. We can gamify anything. You send me your new employee training stuff. I'll get smart on it, and I'll flip it into trivia, and I'll weave it in to fun trivia. And then it becomes memorable. and it's been very successful. I would concentrate on that, and I would not concentrate on where, what dive bar on the east side I could get into next.
Of course, the downside of the corporate gigs is no Coors Light and Buffalo Wraps.
That's right. It's bad chicken.
Yeah. All they do is they give you cash. I mean, who wants that?
That's right. It's just, it's no fun to eat or play with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other tips, tricks, hints for a first-time business owner, somebody that's just making that transition?
I would just say find your inner circle, and trust yourself, but lean on friends and family and sort of the people who will answer your phone calls and just say, I want to run something by you. And if 1 out of 8 of them says, hey, I think you got something there, and you think you do too, what matters is if you think you've got it. If you can tell the story, if you can go out and say, here's what I'm doing and I'm good at it, I believe in myself and no one's going to outwork me, then you got something, right?
Yep.
That's what I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
I really appreciate you having me, Matt.
No problem. And thanks for everybody listening. If you want to learn more about Hambone's trivia, go to defaultprofitable.com and look in the show notes. And if you like what you're listening to, there's 3 ways you can help us. Leave a review, hit subscribe, share an episode. Until next week, we'll be back. Stay focused, keep working, stay profitable.